Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, the $1 Million Show, every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Charlton Big C Sports. Today is beautiful May 24th, 2016, and I want to thank all of our listeners throughout the world, especially you in Latin America. I got to start learning some Spanish, Big C, so bienvenidos. Also, we have people out in London and Berlin and Canada, and of course the great United States. But Big C, I know that there's so much going on in the world of sports. We had all this talk about the Golden State Warriors and the OK City Thunder, and was it a kick or not? We have the NFL announcing the next 5 cities that are going to host Super Bowl 17 through 22. And also, I think about some of the great things that are happening in the world of sports. But as you always do, Big C, you like to mix your acting with sports. And Tony Danza is a great actor. Big C, your thoughts on him?
Well, first of all, Charlton, let's go back to another actor that I didn't bring up earlier that you want to learn some Spanish. We can go back to Dora the Explorer.
Yeah.
He's still on that cartoon series. So we can get you learning Spanish from the infancy stage. You know, we got Dora and Swiper out there every day. So,
well, Big C, I've always told people you're all former All-Pro football players, 40 years of sports and broadcast, and you're watching Dora the Explorer?
Well, you know, sometimes I wake up early in the morning and there's not much on, and there was cartoons there, you know. So,
that's funny.
You know, you watch these things. But, you know, we'll get back to Tony Danza. Tony Danza, you know, had an inspiring early career as a boxer. You know, before his retirement, he had a 9-4 record, but, you know, boxing led him into other things because he was in the New York area, Charlton. He got to meet a lot of people in doing that, and he got his first break in television. If people would remember a show called Taxi.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and Taxi had a great list of actors in that show when he was on there. And, you know, if you think about Danny DeVito, was on that show. And Danny DeVito, everybody knows the history that he's had in acting and in television. But Tony Danza did a marvelous job as a young taxi driver who wasn't the brightest on the show. But he had a lot of people who really loved him. Mary Lou Henner was on the show, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, you know, he went from there and he went to another TV series called Who's the Boss?
Yeah.
Where he played with Judith Light. Now, I'm going to expose something here. Judith Light used to play on One Life to Live. I think they call those soap operas.
Big C's into Dora the Explorer and One Life to Live. Hey, nothing wrong with soap operas. I used to like Luke and Laura also, General Hospital, Big C.
well, Charlton, it was doing breaks in practice, you know, that we come into the locker room, and the television would be on it. And I think it was the training staff that was in there watching it, so, you know, you got glimpses of shows like that.
You know, I'm glad, I'm glad you brought that up, Big C, because you have to be in touch with your feminine and masculine side. That shows that football players are real men, Big C.
You know, but he was a Golden Globe and Emmy Award winner, Charlton People's Choice Award winner. But, you know, when you think about that, and, you know, we talk about a lot of actors and athletes on the show. And it's not just the people on the gridiron, Charlton. It's people that come from all different arenas. But what it shows is a diversity in society, that people can not only be athletes and actors, but they can be great role models for people. And when you think about the roles that Tony played, especially in Who's the Boss, where he played a single dad, Charlton. And we know that there's so many of those in society, single parents. Yeah. And he was a role model for that type of person, where he showed that you had the hardships plus the daily struggles in life. But at the end of the day, it was about the quality of life with your family that everybody should be able to enjoy, Charlton.
Yeah, and I think that's very true, too, Big C, because, you know, there's so much happening in the world of sports and acting. And as far as people who try to go the whole distance, we talk about being a family man. And I know there's this issue that we had with the NFL saying that they were really pro-CTE discussions and finding out what really happened. And then there's also some reporters that wanted to send, I think, to the Boston University to do some research on CTE. I know UCLA, they're also one of the universities that studies CTE while people are still alive because they have that technology. But there's still this talk about the NFL not being pro-athlete. And I disagree with that, Big C, because they can't be perfect. But they also have their own doctors that they trust, Big C. And just because they choose a different medical team, it doesn't mean they're trying to hide anything. Does that make sense, Big C?
You know, Charlton, it's a double-edged sword when you look at CTE and everybody's involved in it. there'll always be the cry that there's not enough done. And like I said, the NFL is the leader for technology and research in CTE.
They are.
It's what I've been speaking about for the past days, Charlton, that when we're looking at the youth leagues, Charlton, the high school, the amateur sports that don't have the technology, the medical help and advancement that the NFL has, what we know about CTE, Charlton, has come from the NFL.
Yeah.
It did not come from youth football. It did not come from high school football. But the NFL has been the leading edge in technology and education when it comes to CTE. I don't think anybody will ever be satisfied with what's going on in medical research in life. We've talked about the battle with cancer for decades in America and within the world.
Yeah.
And we've looked at other catastrophic situations that have affected families all over the place. But CTE is driven much by the media as it is anything else. Why? Because there's a huge financial windfall.
Exactly. There's attorneys involved.
At the end of CTE.
You're right.
There's attorneys involved. There's monies involved. There's huge millions and millions of dollars involved in CTE. So if you can ever pin it on any situation, look at the money that other people are going to make, Charlton. That's why CTE and the NFL are so prevalent together.
Yeah.
No one is really going, and you talked about a couple minor lawsuits from college football, even though they're not minor in totality.
Yeah.
But the money is not there in college football. And you will never see anybody suing anybody on the high school level, Charlton, for CTE.
Well,
or in Pop Warner. And you remember as we discussed it, that's where the injuries actually start on that level because they don't have the technology nor the training, Charlton, to teach or protect these young children.
Yeah, you're right.
They go after the NFL because it's the deep pocket theory. Let's go after the butter that we put on the bread, and that's the NFL. Because without the NFL, there's really no butter to put on the bread.
Well, see, that's a great point, Big C, because in New Jersey, Representative Frank Pallone said that the league tried to strong-arm the National Institute of Health into taking the project from a researcher the NFL feared was biased. And the NFL had agreed to donate $30 million to NIH, and they actually wanted to give it to Boston University because someone gave them a $16 million grant. So that doesn't mean that the NFL is hiding something because they want to go with doctors that they trust. I mean, so everybody, you're right, when there's lawyers involved, and we all need them, there's money to be made when you file a lawsuit against somebody. And I just think that the NFL is at least they're putting themselves out there trying to find out how to make it better. But Big C, even cancer that doesn't have a cure yet, maybe it does in laboratory mice, but when it comes to human beings, they want to make sure they get it right. So every time you sue somebody, it doesn't mean they're wrong. And something else I want to bring up, which is kind of a touchy subject, so hopefully people don't think I'm wrong for saying this, but, and I know everybody has to deal with this because smoking's legal in the United States. But in the Major League Baseball, the late Tony Gwynn's family, they're trying to sue the tobacco industry, and it says Tony Gwynn's widow and her 2 children have filed a lawsuit seeking to hold the tobacco industry accountable for the Hall of Famer's passing. Now, no one made him take tobacco. As a grown man, he did it on his own, just like driving a car or drinking alcohol. You can't just sue everybody when you have labels. If you don't know that smoking causes cancer, then how do you blame the tobacco industry for that, Big C?
Well, also for years, the tobacco industry hid the side effects of tobacco. Now, as you talk about touchy subjects, marijuana has been legalized in a couple states here in the U.S., recently.
Yeah.
The past decade.
Colorado, Oregon, to be sure, yeah.
And Washington.
Okay, Washington also.
Marijuana is a natural substance from the earth that you really don't need to chemically enhance it to get the effects of it, Charlton, and it has great medicinal effects, and it's been proven. But the marijuana industry the tobacco industry is what fought the marijuana industry, because when you look at tobacco, and you have 11 carcinogenics that are all cancer-causing in tobacco, because you have to enhance tobacco to be able to smoke it.
Right.
That's the addicting effect of it.
But don't people know that, though, Big C? Don't people know that?
No, it was hidden, Charlton. It was hidden by the tobacco industry. For years, the tobacco industry made smoking sexy. It was on television. It was on commercials. It was on television shows. It was the chic thing to do was to smoke a cigarette. Now, the tobacco industry, ironically, many Americans don't realize this, Charlton, had Congress set up and pass a bill back in the late 30s, early 40s. And this was a racially passed bill, Charlton, because it said it made African-American men virile, and white society was going to be in trouble sexually from these men. And that it was going to cause a lot of, aggravated situations.
Right.
Now, in the Smithsonian, Charlton, in Washington, D.C., there's actually a pack of marijuana cigarettes because they were legal.
Right.
And they produced 3 stamps. They destroyed 2. There's 1 locked away, and there's 1 in the Smithsonian along with this pack of marijuana cigarettes. Now, when you think about that, this was set up on that scenario, and it was used racial epithets to pass this law because of society's fear of African-American men advancing in those days. But if you go back and you look at movies, they used to have reefer parties in movies. Hollywood, it was a big part of Hollywood. But the tobacco industry saw that they had to fear this product that anybody could grow at home versus what they were growing and had to chemically enhance and invest a lot of money in. So they used racial bias to pass the law, though.
That's incredible, too. That's good knowledge, Big C. And I know that there's doctors that prescribe marijuana to people who have cancer or other ailments because
cancer, epilepsy, Charlton.
Yeah.
It works with children who have epilepsy. When people are having seizures, the oil from the cannabis has been known to reduce the seizures. Now, there's beneficial medical effects from cannabis oils. You don't have to smoke it, just the oil, the derivative of it. Now, there's nothing that people can say about tobacco oil that has medicinal effects in health-causing and altering agents.
Right.
But this has hurt the tobacco industry to no end. Now, tobacco industry was in front of Congress. They were in front of the Supreme Court. They lost a huge lawsuit because they admitted for years that they had been lying about the side effects of the cancer-causing agents that are in smoking tobacco and smokeless tobacco. I mean, the lip cancer that many people have occurred over the years, losing their lower jaw, it's the throat cancer, the lung cancer from smoking. But the tobacco industry was saying for years, no, that's not from tobacco. Yet, because it was such an economic base for them, and they had all these lobbyists in Washington, D.C. over the years that kept this from being an anti-use, situation in America, the tobacco industry won. But look at the health that it has cost America over the decades, Charlton.
And speaking of America, this section is sponsored by America's own Cadillac, the standard of the world. Go down and test drive your Northern California Cadillac Escalade. And it's the standard of the world, and you can only get it there at brand new. And when you go down and test drive at Charlton, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Also by Bud Light, we know it tastes good, but also it tastes great, Big C. But that's another important issue because I know we have basketball to talk about, but when I look at baseball, and I recall when I was a young boy and I played Little League baseball and up into high school baseball, and I never chewed tobacco, but I know a lot of guys did. A lot of guys smoke cigarettes all the time. Almost every Major League Baseball player, they either have chewing tobacco or sometimes sunflower seeds in the dugout, and they spit it out all the time during game time. No other sport allows you to do that. And so many baseball players, they're putting this stuff in their cheek and gum. So the lawsuit, there was already a lawsuit that was settled against the tobacco industry. So the late Tony Gwynn's family, obviously you can sue anyone in court, but there's so many other players that may, if they win this case, it's just going to open up Pandora's box against, other tobacco companies, and maybe it should. I think maybe it should, Big C.
Look at it from this perspective. How much money has the tobacco industry made
billions.
Off of the world and America?
Yeah.
How many cases of cancer have been caused from the smokeless and smoking tobacco over the decades, People have to be culpable for their actions, okay?
Yeah.
Now, you slip and fall in a store, a Walmart, a Safeway, or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lawsuit pending. You spill a cup of coffee between your legs after leaving McDonald's. You can sue for $75 million. Okay?
I've tried to spill coffee on my legs at McDonald's, but they didn't take my case, Big C.
Okay, but was McDonald's culpable for this person spilling the coffee between their legs? But, you chose to buy that cup of coffee. You chose to put it between your legs.
Yeah.
But, these people that have been manipulated over the decades from these sexy ads, Joe Camel, everything was cool about a cigarette.
Yeah.
So, and these ads were targeted at young people, Charlton, not people in their 30s and 40s. They were targeted at teenagers, 14, 15-year-old kids.
Yeah.
They were giving away memorabilia, T-shirts, backpacks, all of these type of things, baseball caps. So you're targeting the youth because you have to start with the youth when you want to build a client base.
And you're right. And they couldn't get it done without the lobbyists in Congress making sure that it happens. It's just that we see so many Major League Baseball players, they put it between their cheek and gum. I recall Earl Campbell when he played football for the Houston Oilers, and he had a tobacco product, and he put it between Skoal. Yeah, and he put it between his cheek and gum. And of course, he has a lot of health issues now, but that's because of football, perhaps. But I just think that obviously, I wish Tony Gwynn's family success, because the tobaccos have a lot of lobbyists, and if young men are being injured by it, like you're right, if they know there's an issue with it, they try to hide it, maybe they should be held culpable, Big C. And also, speaking of being held culpable, I know this is something that you and I may disagree with. Draymond Green and Steven Adams, and at first I didn't think that Draymond had intention, and who can judge intention? But I see they've shown a lot of replays where a lot of athletes did the same kind of kick. But as I've watched it time and time again, he got the fine from the NBA. He was a flagrant 1 in the game, a flagrant 2 they upgraded. I kind of think, looking at it again, maybe Russell Westbrook does have a little gripe. I know maybe they're just talking back and forth, but he thinks that Draymond did it again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Maybe Draymond did have a little bit of extra push in the crotch, Big C. Does that make any sense? I know you disagree with that.
Charlton, everybody who hasn't played sports always has an opinion on what an athlete does in the heat of action.
Yeah.
Okay? We all have these armchair quarterbacks that sit around and never broke a sweat.
No, but that was Russell Westbrook that says Draymond did it on purpose.
Russell's a teammate.
Yeah.
Russell has to look at some of the things he's done throughout his career. There's always actions that occur in a live sporting event.
Yeah.
Instant replay has hindered a lot of actual things that occurred. I mean, you can't change things unless you want to change things. So athletes do everything. So when someone throws an elbow, why don't they get the flagrant foul on the elbow?
Yeah.
You get guys jumping and running into people all the time, getting knees in the chest. As you spoke about the great Karl Malone.
Yeah.
Always need people in the chest.
Never saw a rebound he didn't kick for.
Never saw a replay of that.
Yeah.
Now, I remember one of the greatest dunks of all time. Tom Chambers was playing with the Phoenix Suns. Tom Chambers was a 6'10" forward. Tom Chambers went up, almost leaped over a guy, but he put his knee in the guy's chin.
Yeah.
Now, there was no foul call. And it was a flagrant act because he had the knee out in front.
Yeah.
But, when you look at this thing with Draymond Green, that's a perfect kick.
Yeah.
Okay, now you really got to line that up. Okay? That's a perfect kick.
I
don't care whether it was
I think Steven Adams, I think he flopped, Big C. I think he sold it. Because I've been hitting the jewels also, and you don't go down and shoot a free throw 30 seconds later. But that's what he did. I think he laid on the ground to sell the call, but I think it wasn't deliberate.
I had an incident in a game where I fell on a guy's shoulder pad, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I was down on the sideline like 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Now, you said Steven Adams wouldn't shot a free throw in less than a minute.
About a minute, yeah.
Now, he may get a nighttime Emmy for that. Now, if you took a kick from a 240-pound man with bad intentions, you're not walking down to the other end of the court in 60 seconds. That's not happening.
That's so funny.
Let's be realistic. There's a little acting that was done in by Steven Adams, and he knew he was on television. Now, if this game wasn't broadcast, would he have stayed down that time?
No, not at all.
Prime time NBA on ESPN.
But Big C, it's your fault because since you've been blending Hollywood with acting, you have more athletes trying to act now. So he's acting like a flopper. And I think you brought up, what did you watch, Dora the Explorer and General Hospital and all the Edge of Night, Guiding Light?
Hey,
I mean, how do I know so many soap operas?
That was educational, okay?
Okay. But yeah, you do see a lot of people acting right now, and they're trying to get their role ready for Hollywood. And speaking of Hollywood, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. Go down and test drive from the 1 Series all the way up to the powerful 600 horsepower M7, also known as a 760 Li. And when you test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, this is something I want to bring up too, because we talk about it all the time. We know we got some hockey going on, and the San Jose Sharks, they're one more win away from reaching the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in the history for the Sharks. But aside from that, I just want to bring this up because it's so important. In the Northern California, I know down in the South they're always building stadiums too for college and pro.
Because we know what the athletes need.
They know what the athletes need.
We know what 100,000 people sound like in a stadium.
Exactly. So think about it this way. Mark Davis is still threatening to take the Raiders to Las Vegas. Mark Davis owns the Oakland Raiders over in Oakland. His father, the great late Al Davis, actually helped bring them to Oakland. But if you think about what just happened today with the NFL, Houston's getting the Super Bowl for next year. It was just in San Francisco, Santa Clara this past season. Then they're going to Minneapolis, who has a new stadium. They're going to Atlanta, who has a new stadium, I think, opening next year, Big C, or in the next 2 years. And then Miami.
I think 2017 in Atlanta.
In Atlanta. Beautiful stadium. And then you have Miami and then Los Angeles building a state-of-the-art arena or stadium down in Inglewood where the Lakers used to play at the Forum. So the key thing is when you build a new stadium, the NFL is going to give you a Super Bowl. But Big C, they didn't give St. Louis a Super Bowl when they left L.A. and went to St. Louis, Big C.
No, the Rams spent a couple decades in St. Louis, Charlton, actually. Participated in 2 Super Bowls, winning one, losing the second.
Yeah.
But they never got a Super Bowl in the stadium in St. Louis. So, it's not a guarantee because you build the stadium.
Right.
It's all about the region. Now, you think about it. That Super Bowl is only going to be there once. Now, when will the next Super Bowl be in Santa Clara, Charlton?
Oh, probably about another 10, 15 years, Big C.
Okay, the one prior to that, what was that, 1984 when they played at Stanford Stadium?
Palo Alto, exactly.
Yeah, so it took them 33 years, Charlton.
Yeah.
33 years to come back to the Bay Area with the Super Bowl. So when you realistically look at it, what was the economic impact of that? It had to be minuscule if you pass it out over 33 years, Charlton.
Well,
there was no economic impact. And now the last Super Bowl that was in Los Angeles was down in Pasadena in 1993 when the Cowboys beat the brakes off the Bills one afternoon.
52-17. 52-17.
1993, Charlton. I'm a massive fan because I told you I didn't know CBE myself.
You need more moonshine, Big C. Relax your mind.
Get a shot of it and wash out all this cobwebs and everything.
That always helps, Big C.
So we're talking about 25 plus years since this has been in the Los Angeles basin, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you look at the economic impact and you spread it out over the years, there's really no impact to having the Super Bowl and building a stadium. A team thinks, well, okay, we build a stadium, we get a Super Bowl. Now, the last time that they had one in Atlanta, I can't remember who played in that one, but that was in the early 90s.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, you're right, Big C, on that one.
So when you're looking at these 20, 25, 30-year gaps, Charlton, when you look at a city getting a Super Bowl, now, it's not a huge economic impact. You talk about Minnesota when they had the Ice Bowl with the Redskins and the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills, yeah.
And when they played there. So that was in the early 90s. So we're talking about another 25-year span. So if you're only getting a Super Bowl once every 25 years, where's the economic impact on that city, Charlton? NFL, greatest product out there. Money maker wherever it goes. But you're talking about the Raiders going to Vegas. For what? Why do the fans still buy tickets? I don't understand that.
I don't know. It's like they're being just. It's like you're already with one girlfriend. You keep threatening to leave for a new one. Why does the old one keep showing up? I mean, I love the Raider game and I love sports in particular. But if someone wants to go, let them go. But quit buying tickets that make them even more wealthy. That just doesn't make any sense, Big C. I want to bring. Go ahead, Big C.
It would be amazing, Charlton, to show up on Sunday on game day and nobody in the stadium.
Yeah,
that's when the fans would really get their just desserts.
Well, I hear they
would get respect.
I hear they already do that down in Jacksonville, Big C. They have about 30,000 people coming to their games, and I think they had a Super Bowl in Jacksonville too, Big C.
Yes, they did. The Philadelphia Eagles and New England Patriots.
So I want to bring this up. Back in 1996, it was December 29th at 3Com Park, San Francisco, formerly Candlestick Park. And the starting lineup, it was the 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a year after the 49ers beat the Chargers in the Super Bowl down in the great state of Florida. Listen to the offensive lineup. This is how things fly. This is how time flies, Big C. Wide receiver, Terrell Owens, Steve Wallace, Ray Brown, Jesse Sapolo, Chris Dahlman, Harris Barton, the tight end, Brent Jones, wide receiver, the greatest ever, Jerry Rice, quarterback, Steve Young, William Floyd was a running back, and the tailback was Terry Kirby. Why do I bring that up, Big C? Because life is so fleeting. These guys were just coming off of a Super Bowl, and only Steve Young, I believe, is in television. Jerry Rice does a lot of other specialty shows, but no one else is in TV. It's just Steve Young. And I bring that up because we talk about the Super Bowl and its impact. We know we just had it Santa Clara this past year. It's going to be in Houston. The impact of it. The San Francisco mayor said they had a nice profit with the Super Bowl being in San Francisco, Santa Clara. There were some city councilmen saying, well, we didn't get our money. We barely broke even. Because there's so much that goes on behind the scene. So with the great Mark Davis, his whole thing is, if they keep threatening to leave, that the NFL is going to help them get a stadium someplace. Maybe they don't want to be in Oakland because you don't have the same kind of money there. Maybe a move to San Jose would make sense, but the 49ers would fight that. But I don't think they would go anywhere outside of LA or the Bay Area because that hurts so many other teams when you keep talking about leaving Big C. I think they should put a moratorium on teams relocating, at least make them stay where they are for 10 years at a time. Or is that not legally, Big C?
Charlton, they have to do what Paul Tagliabue did with the Cleveland Browns when Art Modell took that franchise to Baltimore.
Yeah.
You can leave. You can take your organization. But the name belongs to the city.
Yeah.
And that's where Paul Tagliabue got one thing right in his career. He did a lot of things, but I think of all, that was the greatest feat that he pulled during his career, is that the name of the Browns had to remain with Cleveland.
Yeah.
Not like when the Rams went to St. Louis, they took the name of the Rams. When the Raiders went to Los Angeles, they took the Raiders' name.
Yeah.
Now, if you leave a city, a community, the name belongs to that city and the community because that's where it was created. I think these organizations will have a second thought about leaving because that's their branding and their marketing edge. Especially the Raiders, they're number 1 and number 2 in the NFL in memorabilia.
Yeah.
Now, if you have to leave and start a whole new organization and you lose that cash flow, you're going to be scrapped when you get to your new area because you're going to be showing up, yes, you have an NFL team without an identity, Charles.
Well, speaking of an identity, Big C, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. They build it Ford tough. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, BeneathHisWingsFoundation.org. Make a donation today. It's easy, it's fast, and secure. And for promotions, contact Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment. She's the best in Northern California. And when you tweet out to her, let her know that Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, let me just ask you your thoughts on the relocation. NFL, they had the merger back in the 60s when we had the AFL and the NFL and the great games that happened, and a lot of that was due because of the great Al Davis. Los Angeles, their market is so big. I think it's 15 million people in the LA basin. The city only has about 3 million, but 15 million people in Los Angeles, that market's large enough to have 2 teams, even though you don't want to see teams leave. But I know you're on the East Coast, but what's the appeal in Los Angeles to having a professional football team? A lot of people didn't even think they missed it because they could watch all the games they wanted to. But from the East Coast, do you see football being important in LA? Does it even matter down south, Big C?
It matters. It's part of life. It's part of heritage in the South, Charlton. When you look at California, especially Los Angeles, why have you lost 2 professional teams? That's what you really have to ask yourself, Charlton.
Yeah.
You've lost 2 professional teams. And when you do that, that shows that there's just not enough care or impact because you have too many things to do.
Yeah.
You have the ocean, you have the beach, you have all of that. You have all these amenities of Hollywood and just the lifestyle down there where they say it never rains.
Yeah.
So when you look at all of those things, Charlton, you have the horse tracks, you have basketball, you have hockey, you have multiple professional baseball teams.
Don't forget the great USC. They're going to beat you guys down on the kickoff classic come Texas. Alabama trying to cancel that game from what I heard, Big C.
You say you see what? They're coming down here losing? Is that what you see?
No, they brought back Lynn Swan. He's getting that horse in shape. They're going to ride the horse down to Texas, Big C, to beat up on you good old boys.
But Charlton, history have a tendency of repeating itself. When you had the Rams, you lost the Rams. You had the Raiders, you lost the Raiders. Why did you lose those teams, Charlton? Lack of attendance. Just because you build this palatial stadium doesn't mean that you're going to fill it up all the time. And, we talk about these huge college stadiums down in the South where you have multiple 100,000-seat stadiums.
Yeah.
You have to tell me when was the last time UCLA had a sellout at the Rose Bowl, if it was the first time, Charlton.
Well, I think, you're right.
The last time USC had a sellout at the Coliseum, and it's been decades. Okay, and those stadiums, the Rose Bowl, they actually tarp off some of the seats in those stadiums, Charlton. Yeah. And even in the Coliseum, they tarped off and closed in one of the end zones. You don't get that in an SEC stadium, Charlton. So as far as people wanting to be involved in the game, the South is the true leader, and even in the Northeast, up in the Big Ten country, they're leaders in college football. But when you come out West Coast, Charlton, you look at the Pac-12 where you sitting there. The number one draft that came out of Cal. I don't think they had a home game with more than 40,000 people in it, Charles.
No, I think they had about 50,000 in one of their games to see the great Jeff Goff.
That was 2 games combined.
I think they sell out when they play Stafford, and that's about it. Maybe when USC comes to town, Big C.
But you think about Ohio State, 105,000. Think about Alabama, 103. LSU, 107. Texas A&M is going to be 120,000.
That's incredible.
And there's a wealth of stadiums down in the South. When you think about those things, the big house in Michigan, 114,000.
That's
so
incredible.
These are people who appreciate football. On the West Coast, they find the football game when they have nothing else to do, Charles.
Well, I think that's true. I think that's true, Big C. It's more of a cultural thing where in California, they say there's a lot to do because of the ocean, but Hollywood, all those issues. Even when you go up north to the state of Washington, Husky Stadium, I think they just renovated Husky Stadium, holds about 75,000. They're on Puget Sound. Arizona State, I believe they hold about 75,000. But most of those games are about 90% capacity. I just think there's more interest in the sports in the South and in the Midwest, and that's just part of life. I think people do a lot of different things out here. But in the last few minutes of this program, Big C, I just want to say this final segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance policy with no medical checkups, and also Goosehead Property and Casualty Insurance. We beat about 99% of the people in the competition, and also tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports for more on that. Now, Big C, the final thing I'll talk about tonight, we know the big game coming up with OKC and Golden State. I think the winner of this game will actually go on and win the series. Great Toronto, great fan base, great game up in Toronto. DeRozan, I mean, these guys are amazing. You have to look at how they tied the series against Cleveland. Very physical game, Big C. But tonight, what do you expect to see in OKC and also Golden State? I think Draymond will have a great game. I think the crowd's going to be nuts. But I think Golden State will get back to their winning ways. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, they haven't lost 2 consecutive games in a year, I believe it is.
Yeah.
But, this is a game where OKC is highly inspired. And if anybody can knock off Golden State, they can. Golden State has had a great run. But OKC, we've talked about it being a great athletic team. I think they won about 52 games during the regular season.
Yeah.
And they've won the 2 playoff series thus far, and they're leading this one. They have great talent. I think that's one of the things that when you look at the NBA season at the beginning of it, everybody had just wrote in Golden State and Cleveland to be in the finals.
Yeah.
But, when you get to the playoffs, Charlton, every night that you play, you're playing another playoff team. You're not playing one of the weaker teams in the league. You're playing a playoff team.
Yeah.
So OKC, this is a team that went through the coaching change, like I said, 2 years ago when Golden State went through that and they went to the coach that they have right now.
Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr. It was the same scenario that they had with Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
When you look at OKC, they got rid of Scotty Brooks. They brought in Billy Donovan.
Yeah.
Now OKC has emulated what Golden State did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I'm not shocked by the way that OKC has played against Golden State. Golden State, it has their backs up against the wall, but OKC is a great organization and a great team with 2 bustling superstars, Charlton. So how do you say it's a fluke what they're doing?
Well, I don't know if it's a fluke or not, but Las Vegas has it right now, Big C. They have the game at just a 1-point favorite by Golden State, but the over-under is 221.5. Now, for people who care about sports, that's a tight game they're projecting, but you know what? Las Vegas kind of scares me. I think Golden State wins it in a close game. It's going to be a high-score game, which I think favors the road team also, because that means there's not a lot of defense being played. But when it comes to defense being played, you can listen to us every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Charlton and Big C Sports. We appreciate you. We thank you for listening, and we hope you have a super fantastic day.